that's working. Welcome, everybody. Okay, I'm going to pay attention mostly to the Zoom, not so much if you are talking on the live, but if you have questions, for sure, put them in the comments below on the live and I will check later. And if you're watching this on the replay, I would love for you to put hashtag replay so that I know you participated and that you were here today. It's literally been like 5 or 6 weeks since I have seen you. So I think we are all out of practice on being on here, but participation is amazing, even if it's a couple days late, a couple weeks late, as we chatted about before. Amelia and I do not want you to get overwhelmed. So it's really working through this at your pace. But when you are in a lifestyle group, a lifestyle change, of course, picking and prioritizing what is important to you at the time is really, really important. But to not put everything on the back burner, just learn when is it okay to start this, right? When is this part of the puzzle going to work for you? So today we are going to be talking about those invisible trophies that we seem to chase, that we might think people have going on, little competitions in their head. As we know, we think people are thinking about us and judging us more than they actually are even caring about what is going on. So we give ourselves these little invisible trophies. So we are rewriting that conversation today for the awards that literally do not exist. So imagine a world where we all receive trophies for never indulging in foods that we love, always feeling motivated and pushing through exhaustion at all costs, losing weight the fastest, or restricting ourselves more than others. So, have you ever thought, if I could just be perfect, then I would finally feel confident? Or if I never indulge, I will finally be in control. Or if I was always motivated, I wouldn't struggle so much. That's one that I was actually just talking to my best friend about because she was going through this. If I push through exhaustion, I'll get there faster. If I lose weight the fastest, I'll finally feel good in my body. Or if I restrict more, I'll be more successful. That sounds ridiculous, right? But here's the thing, so many women are competing in this invisible, unwinnable, is that a word? Unwinnable? I've never heard it. I might have just made it up. Race. So we chase perfection, thinking that it's going to bring happiness. We deprive ourselves, hoping that it'll make us good enough. We ignore exhaustion, believing that pushing through means that we are going to be successful, aka burnout. So these awards don't exist. And I know that you know that they don't exist. There is no gold medal for who suffered the most to get fit. There's no trophy for who avoided sugar the longest. There's no grand prize for fitting back into old jeans. Yes, the diet industry has convinced us that we need to be trying to win these imaginary awards. Pause there. Not Amelia, not our wonderful coach that we have all learned so much from, right? But if you think, and we've been talking about social media, we've been talking about commercials, we've been talking about things that we are bombarded with all the time, and the diet industry wants us to think that there are trophies and rewards for doing those things. That will just make us run around on a hamster wheel. So we are not here to win at suffering. We are here to thrive and figure out how to be our best and how to have progress, not perfection, right? So we are shifting from restriction, guilt, burnout to confidence, self-trust, and lasting wellness. That's the key. Something that we can keep throughout our lives that's going to be sustainable, right? So we are going to rewrite that conversation. There will be many pauses for drinking today. So, why chasing flawlessness is a setup for failure? Why do we feel like we have to be perfect? So, as women, we are bombarded with messages that tell us you need to get it right every time or you're failing. If you're not always on track, you're weak. If you're not disciplined, you don't deserve results, right? This is what's going through our minds. I know that most of you have felt this at one time. These messages are coming from society, social media, childhood expectations, and even our own inner voices. So over time, we start to believe that perfection is the only path to success, happiness, self worth. But let's be honest, perfection is an impossible standard. And worse, chasing perfection doesn't lead to success. It leads to exhaustion, self doubt, and a constant feeling of never being enough. So the reality is, and you guys know this, perfection is an illusion. It's a moving target that keeps you feeling stuck, constantly trying to really reach an invisible, impossible ideal, right? It sounds so easy when you hear it, but yet, this is one of the number one things that when I talk to women, they're always trying to chase and do and reach this goal before they feel enough, before they feel worthy, before they can do something for themselves. It's always this impossible goal that keeps getting further and further away because there's always going to be these standards that you're running after. So, what's actually true, which you've heard me say over and over, is that progress is better than perfection, that consistency matters more than a flawless record, and that one slip up is not going to mess up all of your hard work, okay? So, if you're trying to eat healthier, one imperfect meal is not going to ruin you. If you're working out, missing one day is not going to erase all of your progress. And if you're building confidence, one bad moment is not going to define your self worth. Baby steps, small wins, celebrating those little, celebrations, right, along the way. So often we let one little misstep convince us that we've failed. We let perfectionism trick us into quitting completely. We've talked about self sabotage, even when we are making real progress. I can't remember if I talked to you guys about this, but I used to have, well, two big problem areas when I was trying lifestyle changes. One was the weekend, because a lot of times there will be a for example, a 5 day meal plan, and then a sample or a template or a do what you want for the weekend. And I would fall apart. I'm so good at meal planning. And then the weekend comes along. And if somebody wasn't telling me what to do, it was like, well, I would fall into that trap, right? I need something quick. I need something easy. Um, and then it would be something maybe not the greatest, which would not make everything that came before it dissolve. However, in my mind, in my mindset, well, that happened. Oh, that happened the next day. And then there's that self sabotage. So that was one time that it would happen. The second time was always during that week in my cycle, right? So the one of the neatest things that I learned, this would be a few years ago now. Oh, more than a few years ago. I feel like I lost a whole bunch of years in 2020 and beyond. But it was during that time, around 2020, 2021, where I first encountered, and this is our first tangent of the night, um, eating for your cycle. And I thought that was the coolest thing. And I tried to go down the rabbit hole, tried to learn more, and there was not very much on it. But basically, it made sense for me. And maybe this wouldn't be for everybody. This was actually one of the first times that I was thinking, because this was pre perimenopause, how hormones and women, I knew that it was easier for men to lose weight. or to not gain weight in the first place. So I knew there was that connection with hormones, but I never made the connection to our actual cycle and how different times during the month we needed more carbs here, less carbs here, more fats here. And it really, really made sense. So that was really neat. So my second time of kind of falling off the wagon would be during my cycle and thinking, oh, I did that. So this everything behind it isn't isn't worth it anymore. When in fact, it really was my body saying, hey, maybe you need a little more salt here. Hey, maybe you need a little more electrolytes here. Hey, maybe you need a little fat in the morning and not over here, right? So knowing that you can still have little slip ups and it's not going to determine everything that came before it. So where has perfectionism held you back? So I want you to take a moment to reflect. If you haven't already, I want you to grab a piece of paper, grab a pen or a pencil, and just have it in front of you for the rest of this session. So there's going to be times where I want you to write down a question, a reflection, a note to yourself while I'm chatting, okay? So I'll give you a second for you to grab that. Okay. So I want you to think, has there ever been a time that you quit something because you weren't doing it perfectly? So it doesn't have to do with your nutrition or your diet, um, or weight loss, just any time in your past, has there been a time that you wanted to quit because you weren't doing it perfectly? And have you avoided trying something new because you feared you wouldn't be good enough? So it stops you from even starting. I might be going too fast, but you can pause. That's the thing. If you're watching the replay, you can pause. And how would it feel to embrace progress instead? So think about an area of your life where perfectionism has created pressure or made you feel stuck. Maybe it's your health, your career, your parenting, your relationships, or even your personal growth. Now imagine instead of striving for perfection, you focus on showing up consistently with your flaws and everything. So it's time to rewrite that script in your mind. So instead of holding yourself to impossible standards, I want you to remind yourself, I don't have to be perfect to be successful. I just have to keep going. So maybe you write down, I just have to keep going. In the class I was at this afternoon, we watched a snippet of Finding Nemo. And is it Dory? Dory or Dora? Just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. Same thing, right? So give yourself permission to take imperfect action. Show up even when it's messy. Keep moving forward even when you stumble, because real confidence, growth, and success don't come from being perfect. They come from choosing to keep going. I didn't put in these notes, but I should have and I could have. The examples that you've probably heard about, right? Um, the author of Harry Potter, how many no's she had. There's basketball stars, how many missed shots they took before they got good ones, how many business people were told no. There's so many examples in the past and in history of people that were told no or kept failing. A big thing that I've always told girls on my team, students, family is fail forward. Fail forward. I had watched a snippet years, like we're talking 15 years ago or more, about a family that, like, maybe you have a tradition when you sit down for supper. We always eat supper together. And Our tradition used to be to not watch TV while we were having supper, but now we do on Fridays. But this family, their tradition was that the dad would ask, "What did you fail at today?" to his kids. And so he didn't want to hear what did they do good at. He wanted to know what they failed at, what they tried and failed, because you're only going to get somewhere if you fail and keep going, right? Because by not going forward, not trying again, not doing it, making that mistake keep you from ever doing something again, that's the only way that you can actually fail, right? In anything. You can apply that to anything in your life. Any of those things that we talked about with your job, your parenting, your health. That's the way you fail, is by stopping, not trying to figure it out, right? Not trying to do better, not trying to fix, not trying to think, what lesson is that trying to tell me? What am I supposed to learn from this? So that I thought was so cool, that the dad was like, I want to know what you failed and what you think about it and what you're going to do about it. How did you fail today? How many no's did you get? How many stumbles? How many mistakes did you make? What do you feel about that? What are you going to do? Something to think about that I thought was really, really neat. So today, I want you to let go of that perfection myth that you are enough exactly as you are. I want you to keep going, keep growing, and watch how far you go in whatever you are trying. Okay? So I want you to take a sip of your water, everybody, including myself. I want you to raise your hand if you have ever gone on a super strict diet only to find yourself daydreaming about all the foods that you aren't allowed to eat. Or if you've felt overwhelmed with guilt after enjoying a slice of cake or a plate of pasta. If you've turned down a treat, not because you didn't want it, but because you felt like you shouldn't. If you are nodding along to any of these, welcome to what is known as restriction binge cycle. So it's a pattern that many women find themselves stuck in, especially when they've spent years or decades trying to follow the rules of diet culture. But here's the truth: when we deprive ourselves, our body and our mind are going to push back. So your body is biologically wired to protect you from starvation, right? So when you restrict certain foods or severely limit your intake, your brain is interpreting that as a threat. So eventually your cravings are going to intensify. You start obsessing over the foods that you're not supposed to have. And when you finally give in, you don't just have a bite, you binge and you feel out of control. And then you beat yourself up for it. Does that sound familiar? So this isn't a willpower problem, it's a survival mechanism. Instead of punishing yourself for wanting to enjoy food, it's time to take a new approach. So one rooted in permission, self-trust, and enjoyment. So try this instead. And if you need to, you can take some notes. Eat what makes you feel good, not what diet culture tells you is right or wrong. Give yourself full permission to enjoy indulgences without attaching guilt or shame to them. Because that's the big thing in your mind. You can have a little bite. You have to tell yourself that it's okay. Practice turning your hunger and your fullness, or tuning into your fullness cues and trusting your body to guide you. Remind yourself that you are not bad for eating dessert or bread or anything else that brings you joy. Okay, so it's all in your mind. It's that survival mode that your body is made for, essentially. Okay, so the piece of paper that you had, I want you to grab it in your pen. And I want you to write down 3 foods that you have been avoiding or labeling as bad. It could be now, it could be in your past, but 3 foods that you've been avoiding or labeling as bad. And then for each one, I want you to write out a way that you could enjoy it mindfully, not as a cheat, but as a choice. So, for example, the food is chocolate. We don't have to think too much about this one because in the shred, chocolate was every single day. And there's a reason that Amelia does that. So, enjoyment, a few squares of dark chocolate after dinner, slowly with a cozy cup of tea. So, let this be your reminder again that indulgence is not the enemy, deprivation is. When you release that guilt and honor your body, you are going to create space for freedom, joy, and true nourishment on your terms. This is important to hear. Okay, so why you don't need to feel like it to show up, or what I like to call the motivational trap. So, how often have you told yourself that I'll start when I'm ready? I just need a little more motivation. It's not the right time, maybe Monday. Does that sound familiar? So, you're not alone. Many of us wait for the stars to align before we start doing the things that we know would help make us feel better. But here's the truth: motivation is fickle, it comes and it goes. And so some days you might feel fired up, ready to take on the world, and other days you can barely get yourself out of bed, let alone show up for the goals that you've given yourself, right? And that is why motivation cannot be your plan. It only shows up when you feel, or if it only shows up when you feel like it, you're never going to build the consistency that you need for lasting change. So, real change is going to happen when you take action despite not feeling like it, because you've made it a part of your lifestyle, not just a passing mood, right? So, instead of chasing motivation, you have to build systems that work for you. So, here's some ideas for you. Write these down if you need to. So, number one, stack habits onto routines that you already do. So, this is called habit stacking. Surprise, surprise. So, for example, if you already drink coffee every morning, hello, non negotiable, then use that time to do 5 minutes of stretching. Maybe you are attaching your coffee to journaling. Maybe you're attaching coffee to your deep breathing, but your habit stacking, okay? You're not creating new time, you're layering something meaningful into what already exists. So that's the first thing. This was a really big one when I had people starting their collagen and they kept forgetting, which is with any supplements. If you buy a supplement and you want to do it, excuse me, but then you're not using the supplement daily if you're supposed to, any medicine really, then it's just a waste of money, right? So I got people habit stacking. A lot of it did have to do with coffee, surprisingly, but other things that you do every day. So coffee every day, fine. Stack a habit to your brushing your teeth, right? Something that you do every day. Putting on your clothes. I was talking to somebody for bringing up their energy for the day. So she was having trouble with that. So habit stacking that to putting her clothes on and listening to music, joyful, happy music, energetic music, whatever made her happy that day. Um, so habit stacking, putting on clothes with that song, listening to it, or just moving along happily, right? And then that also shifted the gears in the mind with a little bit of negative self body image too, because then it was tricking the brain or rewiring the brain to putting on clothes and doing that is a happy thing for my body. Number two, start ridiculously small. So instead of committing to a 1 hour workout, start with 10 minutes. Walk around the block, do a few squats while you're brushing your teeth. The point isn't the length, it's the consistency. And once you start, it's easier to keep going. And then you can add it to 12 minutes instead of 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 18 minutes, right? As you keep going and you're building that consistency, and it really is kind of stacking as well, habit stacking. Number three, set up accountability. So have a friend, a coach, or a group that checks in with you. So use the sweet results page, participate in it, even if you're asking a question, or if you want an accountability partner and you start a thread saying, okay, who has done a little bit of their movement today? Say me below. And it's just knowing that you're not alone. So knowing that somebody is rooting for you or waiting for your update, that can be the push to really get you to follow through, right? And then lastly, celebrate those tiny wins. It doesn't have to be huge to matter. Did you show up today? That is worth celebrating. Okay? Tiny wins make for big progress. So, I want you to think about what is one tiny habit that you can start today? No motivation required. Write it down, do it, repeat it tomorrow, and that is how change is built. One unglamorous but powerful step at a time, right? Motivation is a feeling, discipline is the choice. So you don't have to feel like it to show up, you just have to start. We're going to talk about burnout. This is everybody's favorite subject, and why pushing through exhaustion is not a badge of honor. So we live in a world where exhaustion is worn like a badge of honor. We hear people say, I barely slept last night. I've been running nonstop. I haven't had a day off in weeks. And somehow that is becoming something to admire. Like the more tired that you are, the more productive or successful you must be. But the truth is, pushing through exhaustion isn't going to make you stronger. It's going to make you disconnected. You're going to burn out and you are going to feel so drained, right? Your body is not a machine. Your energy isn't endless. And rest is not a reward that you earn by doing enough. Rest is a requirement. So if you constantly ignore your body's signals, or if you feel guilty for slowing down, or if you're always tired but keep saying, I just need to push through, you might already be stuck in the burnout cycle. And the good news is that you can break it, not by doing more, but by choosing rest. And this is really, really interesting. So not many people know, but there's actually 7 types of rest that your body, your mind, and your soul need to truly recharge. And I have these written down so I don't mess it up for you guys. But it's so, so neat because typically when people hear about rest, they think that it means sleep if you've slept enough, right? So this is something that I also went down the rabbit hole of. And it just gets more and more interesting the more that I hear about it. Okay. I did write down because there's 7. So we have physical rest. So this includes both passive rest, like sleeps and naps, and active rest. Not sure if you've ever heard that before. I had not. Like gentle stretching and massage. Number 2 is mental rest. So quieting the mind, taking breaks from decision making, and allowing space for your thoughts to settle. Number 3 is emotional rest. So letting go of people pleasing, processing feelings, and being honest about what you need. Hopefully, I'm not going too fast for you guys. Number 4 is social rest. So stepping away from draining interactions and spending time with people who restore your energy. So you probably have people, if you think in your life, that when you spend time with them, you walk away feeling totally drained. Like I've called them energy vampires because that is like the best visual that I can give is that You know that you're going to be depleted, that it was exhausting being with them, just the energy around them, how much they need, how much they take from you. And then there's other people that when you're around them, you just walk away feeling so happy and so joyful. And that is a type of social rest, being around those people, restoring your energy, very balanced back and forth, right? Number 5 is sensory rest. So, reducing your screen time, your noise, your stimulation, especially important in our hyper connected world. This was a big one for me. Having so many online businesses in the last almost 11 years, I was very accessible. In fact, all of us are very accessible right now because most of us have a phone, right? And some people are way better than others about this. That just because I have my phone with me doesn't mean that I'm accessible. You don't get access to me all the time, right? But then there are people that, again, energy vampires perhaps, that think, I know that you have your phone, I know that you're on your phone. That means that you need to answer me as soon as I'm trying to get a hold of you, right? So just being very protective of that space, um, especially giving yourself time before you go to bed and stepping away from anything that has the blue screens. So your phone, your computer, your TV, and just making sure that that is shut off before bed. Okay. Number 6 is creative rest. So engaging in beauty, play, and inspiration like painting, music, writing, or simply being in nature. So I did this for myself. I was very excited. I had signed up a few weeks ago for a stained glass workshop. So you can go see on my page what I made last night at the workshop. And I am a very creative person, but I was more creative mostly prior to becoming a mom. And so that is something that I am trying to give myself space for and time for because it was such a big part of my life. And so it was really fun. There was very frustrating times because stained glass is not the easiest thing in the world. Um, but it was really, really fun and a really good, what did it end up being? 3 hours with the cutest little outcome that you can go take a peek at. And then our 7th one is spiritual rest. So reconnecting with something greater. So through prayer, meditation, journaling, time in solitude, however you practice that for yourself, many, many different ways, right? So I want you to think, where are you out of those the most depleted right now? Okay, I'll go back and read them to you quickly. So physical rest, mental rest, emotional rest, social rest, sensory rest, creative rest, spiritual rest. Which one of those are you the most depleted in right now? Now, this doesn't mean that all 7 of those need to be completely balanced, but everybody is going to have one that they feel like they give a lot of time to and one that they're going to feel more depleted in. So you want to just balance those scales a little bit, right? And what is one small way that you can restore that type of rest this week? So write it down. I don't want to add a ton to your plate, but I haven't seen you in 6 weeks. So there's a little bit of stuff that I want you to do. Okay, I want you to just think about that a little bit. And I want you to have this as a reminder that rest is not a weakness, it's wisdom. I think it's easier as we grow older to recognize that we need to stop a little bit more. How precious our time is, deciding what we're saying yes to, what we're saying no to, and choosing to care for yourself is one of the boldest and bravest things that you can do for yourself. All right, the weight loss race. One of the invisible races, one of the invisible trophies. Why faster doesn't mean better. This is going to really mess with your mind a little bit. So many of us have been taught that the faster we lose weight, the better. But rapid weight loss is also going to lead to muscle loss instead of fat loss, metabolic slowdowns, and increased cravings and even binges, right? So instead of focusing on speed, we're going to focus on sustainability. And that's why you are here in the group still. That's what we are focusing on. That's why I always call it a lifestyle group and not just a nutrition group or a weight loss group. This is a lifestyle. We don't want this for just 2 months, right? So instead of I need to lose 10 pounds in a month, I want you to try saying, I want to feel more energetic. I want to be stronger. I want to move in a way that makes me happy, right? We've talked about this before. So I want you to reframe that goal and think about a non scale victory that you can celebrate. So we haven't talked about this in a few weeks, but I had a list of probably 100 non scale victories. Um, and it's posted in the group. You can go see it. It's posted somewhere. It's really, really long. So if you just use the search button and say either non-scale victories or NSV, it should pop up. Probably from February. And I want you to look through that list and celebrate some of those things. Print it out. Put it somewhere that you see it. Highlight it, right? Use that. So why less isn't always more? More restriction doesn't mean that you're going to be more successful. So, this is a belief that a lot of us have been told that the more you restrict, the more successful you're going to be. Cut more calories, say no to more foods, eat less, move more, be good. Who have we been told this by? Right? Again, it's social media, it's the diet culture. Why would they say that to us? Because in diet culture, you're a customer. And if they want to have a lifelong customer, that means they need you to fail, right? Over and over again, so that you're starting over and over again. And it's that loop, right? That's what they want. So it's not necessarily that the things they're saying are right or true. So if a restriction actually worked long term, why do diets always fail? So the truth is, we've talked about it, your body is really smart. It's wired for survival, not bikini season. So when you severely restrict your food, your body isn't cheering you on. It's panicking. It believes something is wrong. Food is scarce, energy is low, so it's starting to adapt to protect you. And what's that adaptation? A slower metabolism, increased cravings, especially for high energy foods. What gives you energy really quick? Sugar. Fatigue, mood swings, obsession with food, a cycle of being good and then falling off, right? It's not a lack of willpower, it's a biological response. So your body is not trying to sabotage you, it's trying to save you. So this is where things get really, really hard. The more rules that you stack onto your life, the harder it becomes to stick to them. The stricter the plan, the more likely that you're going to fail. So every time that happens, you feel worse and you trust yourself even less. So restriction is not the answer, it's actually the problem. So we're just going to go through a little bit more, and then I'm going to share the screen a little bit for um, that worksheet that I want you guys to look at. And it goes over a little bit of what we already have too, so you can work through it and take a picture. So instead of, we're going to flip that script. Instead of asking, how little can I eat today? I want you to ask, how well can I nourish myself today? So instead of focusing on what you shouldn't eat, I want you to shift to what you can add, what you can eat. So more color on your plate, more water to feel energized, more protein to feel full and satisfied, and more fiber to support your digestion, right? A fun little trick that you can do when you go to the grocery store is try to find the most colorful thing that you can add to your plate. Um, or something interesting, a fruit or a vegetable that you've never tried before, right? And that's really fun if you go with your family too. Like often the kids will want to have, say, like dragon fruit or something like that, right? Or maybe you don't have avocado very much, or maybe you don't have mangoes. Try to pick something colorful or something that you haven't tried before. And that can be a fun way to get the family involved as well. And think about meals that make you feel good, but not guilty. So the truth is, when you start to fuel your body, sorry, with care and compassion, everything is going to shift. So you're going to stop white knuckling your way through the day and you stop fearing food. I'm not sure if any of you are there, but you want to begin to build trust with your body again. So think about, as a reflection, what's one way that you can nourish yourself today instead of restrict? And remember that success isn't about eating less, it's about living more. So nourish your body, nourish your life, and that's where you're going to have that true freedom. Okay? I am going to, actually, there's one little section that I don't want to miss out today. So we've talked about those invisible trophies, those rewards that don't actually exist. I want to show you what winning actually looks like. So winning is not losing weight the fastest. It's not depriving yourself. It's not suffering to fit into old jeans. Winning is actually trusting your body, eating in a way that fuels you and excites you, moving in ways that bring you joy, resting without guilt, and loving yourself at every stage along the way, which is my true passion for women, because we've got one life. In the drop of water of life, it is really not a very long time. And I'm really sick of women that are really sick that women feel so bad about themselves for so much of their life, right? Our seasons are always changing, our body is always changing, and we have to learn that even as we are trying to keep it its strongest and its healthiest and its fittest, that's going to look and feel different all along the way. And so it's important for us to have that neutral, working towards positive body image and confidence to know I love what my body is doing for me. I love what my body has done for me, what it can do, what it allows me to do when I wake up in the morning. That's really important, especially if you are going through or have gone through things that have been very impactful on your body. Like a lot of you might be like me and have a chronic illness, and it is a total mind F, right? When you're used to being really healthy and all of a sudden you're not, right? Or thinking and looking back at pictures. I know this has happened to a lot of people where they look back at old pictures and thought, oh, I really thought that I didn't look good there, but now that's kind of my goal, right? Love yourself, appreciate yourself along the whole way. And that's the real trophy. That's the real reward that you can have 20, 30, 40 more years of appreciating each of those seasons. Okay, so that's my goal for everybody. That's my passion, is getting people there, that you don't have to wait to be good enough, that you have time for all these other things. You have to also make time for yourself, that you are a priority. You're not on the back burner anymore, right? You can't help everybody before you help yourself. You have to work towards being happier, healthier, or joyful, because that is going to change your surroundings, your family, your energy, right? All those circles of influence from closest to you to the way out. Just watch that change as you shift that way of thinking. So I want you on your paper again to write down one thing that you are ready to let go of and one new belief that you are ready to embrace. That's a big question. I'm going to say it again. So write down one thing that you're ready to let go of and one new belief that you're ready to embrace. You weren't put on this body to shrink. You weren't meant to punish your body. You were meant to thrive in it. Your body deserves better and you deserve better. So I want you to stop chasing those imaginary awards and start celebrating the real wins that you have. So remember, go back in the group, the little search button on the top, and search non-scale victories, or NSV. I can't remember what would bring it up. And you're going to see a whole list I want you to go through when you have a chance. Okay, and it's a list that you can just put check marks or highlight. This is not meant to take tons of time. It's just meant to get those wheels turning on what the real little wins are. And you'd be surprised how many you already have. All right, let me go to, we just have a few minutes left. So I want you to make sure that you have your phone so you can take a screenshot of this. Let me just grab it for us. I'm not the greatest at putting together worksheets. I don't make them fancy or pretty. But, oh, you might not. How can I? Oh, this is how I can do it. I was trying to see if I could get it onto one. Oh, I can. Okay. Oh, that might be tiny for you, but if you take a picture, I know that you can't see it yet. Okay, make sure you have your phone. If not, I will figure out a way to get this in the group as well for you guys. And I'm going to screen share. Sometimes this goes okay with me and sometimes it doesn't. Share that. Okay, it's not going to be fancy, but here we go. Okay. I don't have anybody on with me to tell me if you can see that. Let me see. Yes. Okay. If you are watching the live, never mind. I'm watching the live and I can also see what you see. So is this too tiny for you to take a screenshot of? Or is it okay? I just wanted so that you could take a screenshot that it's all on the same page. So that's why I shrunk it a bit. And it just has these things, very simple. What does it have? 8 different things for you. So what's one way that you've fallen into the restriction mindset in the past, like cutting carbs, skipping meals, being overly strict? Again, this is why I love Amelia's program, because it doesn't fit into these. I actually started eating more smaller meals spread throughout the day and felt a million times better. Eating 6 times instead of two. Number two, what's one thing you can add to your day this week that would feel nourishing for your body, like a colorful meal, more water, or a slow walk? Then there's a little mindset shift for you. Instead of how little can I eat, try writing your version of how well can I nourish my body today. So, writing your intention. Number three, what's one thing you keep waiting to do until you feel ready or have more motivation? And number four, what is one tiny habit that you can begin today stacked onto something that you already do? Right? So that habit stacking, so effective, you guys. Number five, what type of rest are you most depleted in right now? So you probably already did that with me. Physical, mental, emotional, social, sensory, creative, or spiritual, life changing. Number six, what's one small thing that you can do this week to replenish that type of rest? Number four, part four. Number seven, write down one food that you've been avoiding or labeling as bad. How can you enjoy that food in a way that feels intentional and guilt free this week? Okay, I'm going to tell you a little trick that I learned. And I'm sure Amelia will be okay with it because it has to do with healthy chocolate. But I learned this a long time ago. It's really good for like winter months, but a lot of people love hot cocoa, or hot chocolate. And so if you have your mug of water, you can do milk too or dairy free milk, whatever. I have my heat going and it got really hot all of a sudden. I thought my leg was going to burn off. So I use almond milk and I put in baking cocoa. It's a very organic one. I go to Costco. I'm not sure. Do you guys have Costco in Australia? So it's a really organic, dark baking cocoa. And it's not like sugar or anything. It's just baking cocoa. And I put 2 scoops of that, mix it up really good. Um, and then I don't really like using sweeteners or anything, so I don't. Some people can. Or like a little bit of an extract, like I love almond extract or mint extract, and mix that up, and it's healthy hot chocolate. So good. And like I said, for winter time and just snuggling up, just really, really good. So hopefully that's okay with Amelia. But that is something that I always thought, well, I mean, it's not the greatest, right? Having a lot of hot chocolate, but that it tastes so good. It's very rich, but there's no sugar in it. So good. And I mean, it's very healthy for you, as you guys know, dark chocolate, right? Um, and number 8, how can you enjoy that food in a way that feels intentional and guilt free this week? I just gave you my tip. Repeat after me. I deserve to enjoy food without guilt. My body and my mind are allowed pleasure. So I will move that back up. That's the whole thing. I will put this tonight or tomorrow into the group for you guys. That's all that I have for you tonight. And I think, I don't know where my timer went, but I think that's our time. That was our full hour again together. Oh, yeah, there, it popped up. We're like exactly at an hour. So I missed you guys very, very much. I will see you again in a month. Um, and I hope that you don't get overwhelmed, that you were able to take away a few things from this. But remember, there are no imaginary rewards. You have very real non scale victories, those small wins that I want you to focus on and try your habit stacking. There was a lot of gold little nuggets, so I hope that you took away something today. If you have any questions, drop them into the live and I will check those later. Hashtag replay if you're watching this later, because I love to know who was with us. And you can always message if you have any questions as well. Okay, take care, guys. Have a great day if you're in Australia, and if you are in the US or Canada, have a great evening. Bye.